A very good morning once again to everybody joining us today for this panel discussion. This is going to be a rather interesting panel discussion. I don't know if a couple of you have actually gone through the format that we have shared. So as we all know, we get together at IC3 to talk about our students, but it's very unfortunate that we don't have any representative from the student community to actually lead the conversations for why we all gather here. So in this conversation today, we have changed the format. We have our educators, experienced educators who are going to be sitting on the panel. And we have one student who's recently graduated from the New York University and also joined the higher education space, who will be representing the student community and actually sharing insights from her journey, talking about what went right, what went wrong, what she observed while she was doing her schooling in India, and what she observed when she interacted with, the various people that she met at New York University, what other jurisdictions are doing in counseling for making career discovery more effective. So we're going to be unpacking with that with her, and then taking all the questions to our panel to be able to understand that how do we navigate through these obstacles and challenges that students are facing today in this entire process. So it's going to be very, very interactive. That's exactly why we do not have a presentation, but we want to keep it like a free-flowing conversation. There's going to be a lot of exchange of ideas. We expect our audience to be an active audience way as well. There will be 10 to 15 minutes that we have reserved at the end, where you can actually pose questions to the student representative as well as the panel, because I'm sure they are going to be also throwing a lot of interesting data at us today and a lot of interesting insights. So please make sure that you question them, and we actually brainstorm to do some collective solution making here. So as you know, the theme of our session today is making discovery more effective and more personalized from the lens of a student. So the first person that I must introduce on the panel is the student representative. So joining us today, we have Ms. Bhalla, who's an alumnus of the New York University. And currently, she's heading Alumni Relations and International Affairs at Manav Rachna Educational Institutions. Sanya? And now moving to the panel, joining us today, we have Ms. Poonam Prakash, Head Career Counselling, Center of the Shri School, Malshri and Aravali region. Poonam, ma'am. Joining me today is also Ms. Manjot Dhillon, Founder Director, Invictus International School, Amritsar, and the current co-chair of Wiki Arise Punjab chapter. Manjot. This is a special introduction. Also happens to be my father, Mr. Sanjay Padode, President, Vijaybhoomi University, and Chairperson, Center for Developmental Education. So if you may please join us on the panel. And last but not the least, Ms. Deepika Bhalla, Executive Director of Manav Rachna International School, Faridabad, as well as pursuing her PhD on a very, very rather interesting topic, which I hope she will tell us a little bit about when she presents on the panel. Ma'am, please. Okay, so now that we have our panel well seated, our student representative in place, let's jump into the session. So the format is going to be simple. I will be posing one question to the student representative. On basis of that, there will be two questions that are going to be volleyed to the panel. So let's get started. Sanya, are you ready? Wonderful. Okay, so Sanya, give us some brief insights from your discovery journey, and do share how the counseling system in India assisted in some places, if you felt there were some places that it did not provide assistance, please do throw light on those as well. So waiting to hear from you on your journey.
So when I was probably in the 9th grade, I decided I wanted to pursue my higher education from the United States. I was hellbound that I used to tell my father that, Dad, this is where I want to go. But at that point, I was young and I didn't know what kind of a subject I actually like. I pursued commerce because one thing I clearly knew, that I do not like the sciences. So I feel commerce was one place that I was like, okay, that's the only thing I know for sure that this is what I like. But the subject, the major, the minor, all the nitty-gritties that you require to understand, I did not know. So my counselor at school did help me a lot to understand what I like and what I don't like. So I was really interested in business management as well as well as economics. So I was always confused between the two as to what should I do and what should I not. So my school helped me a lot to get people from my particular domains as to what are they doing and what did they do to get there. So probably young entrepreneurs, I had a lot of talks in my schools. I went to a lot of summer camps to understand my niche and to understand the subject that I wanted to study. So at the end, my teacher helped me realize, my counselor helped me realize that economics is my way to go. So I attended a lot of economic forums, and like I was just so interested, and I attended a lot of online classes from a lot of NYU professors as well, never knowing that I will be ending up in NYU. So that way I would give that a lot to my school counselors. But one thing that when I went to NYU, I realized could have been done better was internship opportunities, because I feel experiential learning is very important in a student's life. And when I went to NYU, that's what I realized, that what is good on paper is not what I actually wanted to do. So when I went there, I wanted to do business management. So like that confusion came back in my life. So that's where NYU helped me. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sanya. So I think from her response, we very clearly made out that her counselor played a very important role in the process and was effectively assisting her on every step. And second, I think she very correctly pointed out that, there was a lack of immersive and experiential learning experiences for her to make an effective choice. So one of the areas that she pointed out for the same is internship opportunities. Now, with that context, I would like to take this question to my panel and requesting Poonam ma'am if she may like to take this question first. As we established in the first part of the conversation, the self-discovery journey, like in the case of Sanya, is very unique. How can schools facilitate this unique self-discovery process for all students in the institution? And obviously, for the school, you're operating at a mass. So how do you actually cater to them individually? Because each of them have a very unique goal, a very unique aspiration. So over to you, Poonam ma'am.
Yeah. Thanks. I really like the way Sanya appreciated her counselor. It really warms my heart coming from the same space. I'm going to begin answering this question by a little case study about a student who took pure commerce in grades 11 and 12. Good boy, didn't do well because he was clearly not interested. He went to college. He decided to participate in all photography competitions, winning most. Eventually, he found his calling. He went to Whistling Woods and is a very, very well-known cinematographer today. I think the learning from there, what he did was discover his career through practical exposure, like Sanya says, and also getting it certified for himself by winning all those competitions, though maybe winning is not necessarily the yardstick. So I think discovery in schools may not, for a high schooler, help you find your career, but it will definitely, in most cases, at least help find the passion. I feel most schools are already doing that. They give it a different period. Some call it society, some call it extracurriculars, some call it performing arts. But basically, I would say exposure to anything that's non-academic. To name a few other than the others, like sports and performing arts, exposing them to a culinary society, design, robotics, animation. For schools who don't have the resources, even something which does not require money, like crafts, chess, puzzles, the Rubik's Cube. Once children are exposed to all of that in a young age, and in the initial years, I think it's a T-shaped graph that works, where in the initial years, they are exposed horizontally to several activities. And once they have actually identified it, to delve deep down into 2 or 3. Now, once the teacher or the counselor identifies their interest, I think the next step is to nurture it. What do you mean by that? So suppose the child shows a clear interest in cooking. How is it nurtured? Nurture it by exposing them to cultures, encouraging them to read about the cuisines of different regions. Indirectly, you're also directing him to reading, exploring history as a subject. Or for instance, the child has a clear interest in history. Taking them or informing parents, taking them to the museums, setting up internships with organizations like Itihas. So it's all about identifying it. The next step is trying to nurture it further again, given the limitations of the resources of the school. And I think some of the resources that we can use in nurturing, some of the ones that I really like is there is a website by the name Interview Portal. It has some wonderful interviews of all kinds of careers. So they're actually text. Very few videos are uploaded there, and you can read up about topics from finance and investment banking to nanotechnology to architecture to all offbeat careers. It also tells you, it also tells students that if you don't have the money, it is this child, this person who's doing a PhD in neuroscience or neuroscience with music, and he's had his entire education and scholarship. So it's also giving hope to the child. The other website that I really like is the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. They have 2-3 minute small videos. So what you're doing is, as you're nurturing, as the child is discovering, they are also looking at options that are available for them as career and deciding, at least like in Sanya's case, deciding what they may just not like. Along the way, I think it also helps develop a lot of soft skills. Say, for instance, if they're doing robotics, I think one soft skill that they get is attention to detail. You're doing entrepreneurship, you're learning analysis, because once you've launched something, you've launched a Facebook page, there is a lot of information that you get at the back end in terms of how many clicks, how many people downloaded my app, how many actually converted it to a purchase, what is the demographics. Hence, there is a lot of analysis also come in, and it is a lot of these skills also which, in the process of discovery, help children.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Poonam ma'am, for actually very effectively laying down the process, and also contextualizing it, right? That it's about identification of passion first and, a career at a later stage. Also talking about the whole aspect of how to nurture, what kind of opportunities as a school ecosystem we must open. And I think it's very kind of you to share these resources here. I think because as a community, we can all benefit from this knowledge and take back these opportunities to our students.
I just wanted to add internships, yes, and alum mentorships. These are two very, very important elements of discovery in school. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. I would like to open up this question also to the other members of our panel. I know each of the institutions, Vijaybhoomi University is doing a lot of work, in engaging students in project-based learning, internships. I'm aware that Invictus International School has also given a lot of internship opportunities to their students with various professionals. So could we have some sharing of experience of how this has actually helped in improving the, learner outcomes at the school and at, helping these students make better choices at the institution?
Thank you, Kritika, and thank you, IC3 and Vijaybhoomi, first of all, for getting us all together and bringing down the walls and building those bridges which we need amongst all the stakeholders here. So it's a very interesting conversation. We're talking about self-discovery and how that I feel is the first step in a student's journey to realize or to recognize the métier or the calling in life. And our school, we have paid special attention to ensuring that the entire community is involved in fostering the students' passion for a particular field or a particular learning. When we're talking of alum support and we're talking of mentorship, in our particular case, the parent community has played a very significant and a very strong role in ensuring our students have access to some of the best internships and some very solid mentoring. We have, of course, like all of us, when we are running schools, the best part is that we have our alum. We also have our parents who are some of the strongest entrepreneurs in the city, some of the strongest professionals in the city. In our case, there has been job shadowing, which is being done under those mentors. There's been internship opportunities. There's been in-school workshops, which have been conducted by parents. We also have career days where parents come in and talk about the career, their own career, and how their path was chalked out. This gives students a lot of insight into what their journey may look like. It helps them make some very informed decisions. And we have worked, well, some of the most interesting stuff that we've done is in forging partnerships with higher education institutions. And if I may, I'd like to elaborate a little bit on how we've done it. We collaborated with Vijaybhoomi quite recently. And what started as just a tiny spark, a tiny idea, it lit up the whole country. It lit up the minds of all the entrepreneurs from all corners of the country. So the idea was to build a platform where we encourage entrepreneurial skills in students, but it was more about enterprise education. So the idea was that we have to equip the students for a world that's pretty unprecedented, and by now we are all sure. In fact, COVID has ensured that we realize what an unprecedented world we are stepping into. And the students are going to need those enterprise skills. The students are going to need problem solving. The students are going to need creativity. The students are going to need collaboration, teamwork more than anything else, risk taking. So keeping this as a premise of what we wanted to do, we collaborated with Vijaybhoomi, and the platform, we named the platform Young Entrepreneur of the Year. It encouraged students to come forward with an idea that was still nascent in their minds, and it encouraged them to build it, to encourage them to have faith in themselves, that confidence that that idea can reach fruition. But why this platform was unique was that we did not just leave it to the students that you have an idea, go ahead, do whatever, and present to us, and it is up to the jury to like it or not like it. What was wonderful about it was that there was ample scaffolding. That is where Vijaybhoomi played a beautiful role. And I want to emphasize on the university's role here, because many of us will recognize, or most of us would recognize, that there is an intersegmental gap. Until we bridge that intersegmental gap between schools and colleges, the learning cannot happen seamlessly in the education pipeline. So the experts from Vijaybhoomi stepped in. There were extensive workshops where they taught the students the basics of entrepreneurship. They taught the students what a good pitch deck should look like. What are the basics of marketing? What is a good music identity, which was a fabulous workshop for your brand? What is an effective logo? All this helped the students understand a world, navigate a world, which at the moment they are looking at from a distance. So this was experiential, like Sanya was talking about. This was deep dive, this was experiential learning. Students do get the exposure of summer camps, students do get the exposure of internships, but once they did it hands-on, it cemented their confidence in themselves. It boosted their self-esteem. And what eventually happened as a result of this particular experimental idea was we had 800 students from all over the country who participated. Around 250 were shortlisted. They converged in Amritsar. It was a whole fiesta of learning. A lot of wonderful ideas emerged. The jury was absolutely astounded. But beyond those 2 days, what stayed back was the students' confidence, was the students' commitment to their own enterprise, their own self-growth. So I think such partnerships are highly recommended. Such partnerships can help schools provide real exposure to children, and also for universities to ensure the kind of students that they are looking for, the kind of skills that they would like to see in students that enter colleges and universities, where universities have to do lesser work on building those skills which are required for college, so that more and more students actually not just get into colleges, but actually pass out of colleges with employable skills. So no more unemployable graduates, but strong entrepreneurs for the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Manjot. And I hope the the audience joining us here appreciates the fact. I mean, the idea why we are sharing a lot of these experiments is to actually give you ideas as well as how you could build partnerships with higher education institutions and actually create meaningful experiences for your students that are going to help them while they are making very important career choices along the way. Because this is what really gives them an idea. Those 2 days gave them an idea what it's really like to be an entrepreneur and if this is actually something that they would like to do in their life in the longer run, right? Let's come back to Sanya with our next segment of the conversation. So, Sanya, when you were at the important junction of making career choices, do you feel that there was adequate exposure to the professional world? I know in the earlier response you did share about, missing out on, adequate internship opportunities while you were at school. And now, in hindsight, how do you think that would be instrumental in making more accurate career choices? So, what's your experience been?
So I got out of school 4 years ago, and I feel things have changed drastically for school and how I think educators like Poonam ma'am and you mentioned how educators see the importance of internship and experiential learning. During my time, it was very different. Like I may sound, but 4 years is a big gap. So yes, I was given a lot of opportunities to go to like competitions, boot camps. However, when I went to NYU, I think there I broadened my horizons. So like there I was given like there are some subjects like cinematography, fashion, that being a economics major, I would have never even imagined doing that. So there I was asked to do some core courses which included a lot of languages which I never studied. So first I used to feel that why am I doing it? Like there is no need. Like I will not even study fashion ever in my life. But I just did an internship in a fashion retail company for 2 months and it changed my life. Like I realized that that is also something I'm interested in. So NYU also, like Poonam ma'am also mentioned, like alumni mentors. So like NYU also gave me an opportunity to work with one of NYU's alumni. So he was a social entrepreneur working in New York City, and my advisor there, they called counselors as advisors. So she told me that when I talk to you, I feel you can become a social entrepreneur. So go. So she helped me connect with that alumni. I went with the alumni. I went to his startup and I realized that this is also something that I can do at NYU. NYU had a major called social entrepreneurship. Just after those 2 months, I took that up in the third year and I was graduating next year. So that was something that not just economics or business, I can actually do a lot more with where I am. And that can only happen when you actually do hands-on learning. Like you may go to classes, you may attend lectures, you may give exams, but that will not do justice to what you can actually do. So that made me realize what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. So I also did an internship in cinematography, and the first day I went and I realized, no, this is not my cup of tea, so I should go back. So that is something that internships make you realize. Like I feel a lot of my siblings or my cousins, when I talk to them and I ask them, what do you want to do? They're like, we're just so confused. So like, even if you are 1% confused that this might be something I'm interested in, you should try that, so that you don't have any regrets, that I didn't try that. I might be good at it, I might have a career in it, or I might be good at it in future. So that's something I feel that schools should also do, give them a variety of choices to choose from. Because if being a commerce students, you will not only do economics, business, but you should also do psychology. Like it's not for sure that if you're stuck onto one area, you have to be there. You have to open your wings and you have to go out in the world to understand what kind of a person you want to become. Like Poonam ma'am also mentioned that case study about that child. Like he was a commerce student going on to photography. Like that's just amazing. Like you yourself don't know. Like me as a student, like I understand the confusions that a child might have. Like you yourself don't know what you're good at. You yourself don't know what abilities or what characteristics you have as a person. So like when I went for the social entrepreneurship internship I'm talking about, I did so many things. I went for a plant drive. I did a lot of activities in New York City. And earlier days, I used to feel like my counselors just, why is she sending me to all this? This is not my area of interest. But by the end of those 2 months, I was super grateful to my counselor because she helped me realize I do not have to be stuck onto one thing. I can do a lot many things because that's what you should do for your individual and personal growth.
Thank you so much, Sanya. Thank you. I think some very effective points being made there. One is about introducing a wide array of subjects so that students get multiple and maximum exposure, which is also something that we're trying to do at the school level with the introduction of the new national education policy as well, and about how internships can play a very crucial role in this. So with that, I would actually like to move the question now to our panel, if Mr. Padode could take a lead on it. I mean, you are somebody who started a professional career and then moved into higher education. So I would like to know from you that what role do you see the professional world can play in helping students navigate career choices? And I think it's a question that you may answer, since the university that you've set up, one of the main pillars of the university today is self-discovery. So if you may please answer the question.
Very good morning to all of you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So welcome to the world of ideas. I think we're all talking about ideas, but let me spell ideas for you. So I is for innovation, D is for design, E is for entrepreneurial, A for automation, and S for solution. I mean, these are the 5 parameters that you require to make a killing in life these days. Now coming to the question, the professional world is a very dog-eat-dog world. They are very focused. They're only looking at profit. They're looking at maximizing market share. They're looking at growth. And if I look at Sanya's case, which is extremely well said, that I want to do internships. Internship is a great way. Now let's take a simple classic example. How many professions exist in the world? I think millions. There are a million jobs. And how many years does one have in his life or her life? 100 years. But even if I spend 1 year in each career, I'm only going to get 100 out of a million. That's a very, very small number. So I think the discovery process has to first begin with self-discovery. It has to begin with what are the inherent abilities that an individual has, and then apply it to the collective competencies that the industry needs, and then make the choice where the match happens. So that is very important in this case. So when you look at from the educator space, I think experiential learning is very important, not because it gives you an experience to the career, but it gives you the experience to deal with hard realities of the world, which opens up your mind that, I'm trying to avoid this, but I don't think I can because this is essential. And that's what starts working on your mind to actually help you make your choices aligned to what's inherently programmed within you through your own DNA, which is created by the Almighty. So that's the basic thing about discovery. And how do you connect with the professional world? I think you need to understand, again, I'm repeating from the previous session, it's all about competency. The professional world is not hiring an engineer, not hiring an accountant, not hiring a doctor. They're basically hiring an individual who can deliver to their objectives. And that capability of the individual is what is most important. So how you unlock the potential of the competencies that are inherently embedded into the intelligence, into that particular individual, is what the real challenge is. And the key thing to this is to give the power of choice to the learner. It's unfortunate that we are tied with curriculums, boards, and a lot of other things where everything is dictated by the educator and the learner is forgotten in the process. But I think we can create environments within our schools and ecosystems where we allow the student to experiment in a controlled environment. We are supervisors, right? We are facilitators. Our job is to ensure that we allow them to experiment, be adventurers, go out, explore, but we control and stop them from falling or stop them from going on the extreme side. And if we do that and connect with the industry, understand the competencies, I think the whole thing will come together. So it's all about self-discovery, aligning the capability of the individual to the collective competencies that make a career. If you can do that match, I think you can get it done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Padode, for that. I think that's a very interesting insight that you've shared. And I think this is the changing dynamic that all of us are talking about, the changing relationship between the teacher and student, where we stop seeing it as a power dynamic where the teacher is in a position of complete power and the student is subversive to the teacher. But we're looking at a situation where we are all, as educators, facilitators in helping them discover themselves and actually make great career choices. And second, I think also the point of, seeing it in terms of educational institutions building capacity and building competency today. I think if we were to change that narrative within our own ecosystems today, I think definitely we are looking at creating a highly more employable workforce for the future. So, Sana, if I can come back to you again. So, you had the good fortune of pursuing higher education at a leading global university, the New York University. And as we know, that today the New York University has, attracts students from all over the globe. So during your time at the university and interactions with students from across various multiple jurisdictions, did you see or notice a difference in the counseling process that they went through at their home countries and what you went through at India? Are there any pointers that you would like to share from that experience and that lens?
Yeah, definitely. Like I had friends from all over the world because I went to an institution like NYU, definitely. But I just want to share an example of my friend. She was from Italy. So I was talking to her, like, why did you come to NYU? And just like in a random conversation, she came out and she told me about her counseling and how they work in their school. So one thing that really stood out to me is that they start counseling at the grade 5 level, so which is a very earlier stage, like the student is very young. And like she told me, Sanya, like by probably like the 10th grade, I knew that this is what I want to do. So like in the 11th 12th grade, you focus on the colleges which provide you that sort of a subject, or you focus on the cities that give you that sort of an opportunities. So that I really liked. And another thing that she mentioned out to me is the student to counselor ratio. So I think there was about 5 to 1. So which is amazing because counseling is a very individualized thing. What works for me may not work for my friends. So like the counselor was so focused on her that even like she knew very well what my friend wanted. Like she attended her classes with her. So she was giving me an example, Sanya, I'm not good at maths. So I used to get really bad grades in maths. So the counselor came to her class, sat with her for 1 whole hour to understand what does she not do for her to not enjoy the subject. So I feel this is a very personalized thing. The counselor's only been given 5 students at one time. So like they have full attention on those 5 students. They know in and out what the students want and how they want it. And the 5th grade, she was also telling me, like, we were not just said that you have to go to college and that's why we're giving you a counselor. They were just there as a friend. Like I think when you're in the 5th grade, it's a very earlier stage to like understand why you need counseling or why you want to go out. But for them to just have like a shoulder to cry on, or like to make, because I feel when you're young, elder siblings are going abroad, or like even in India, like when I was young, my cousin went to the Manchester school in UK. So looking at her, I was always thinking, oh, I also want to go to UK, because that's something that happens in the family and you see that, so you get influenced by it. So having a person to talk about it is very good and is very essential also, because you should not be influenced by someone else. You should do what you want to do. So I feel that was one thing that I learned from her, definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sanya. Again, a very interesting, I think, insight here. Probably not a lot of us would have known that, how developed a counseling system Italy has. So very interesting ratio that Sanya shared with us, that one counselor on 5 students. I think a lot of us sitting here do, resonate with the fact that we're all struggling. Our counseling departments are very small in our schools, and the huge number of students that we, have to counsel and help on an individual basis. The second is, I think, a very interesting point again, which is that, conversations around counseling begin as early as grade 5. So typically the trend in India is we start conversations from grade 8 to 9, and that also in a very subtle manner to sort of open their mind and lead them to these questions. So I think these are some very important points that Sanya has made, and I would like the panel to deliberate on these points. So Deepika ji, if we can actually invite your response on this. From the experience of, the educators joining us here, Can you break down the steps that, we must follow as institutions to facilitate self-discovery?
Very good morning. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to mention here about my Rachna. So because Manjotji also said, we have to work with the university, like for a balance, counseling and everything. So for us, we started off in 97. I'm just mentioning how today. We started off with the school first. And then we further came, then my father-in-law was Dr. Bhalla. He started off with one of the college in 1997. And then when the crowd came, then he realized the importance of the school. Then in 2003, we started off with Manav Rachna.
With one of the school in, we started off one of the school in Sector 21C by the name of Manav Rachna International School. That's how he realized. So what I want to mention it here is the school and the universities always move together. So for counseling, that's a major thing I'll say. So at Manav Rachna, we have the CDC department, with the schools and the university both work together for this. And of course, the role of CDC, the counselor, I think we've been learning since 2 days. That's very, very important from a child perspective and from a university perspective or from a school perspective, or even I as a parent perspective, because Sanya she's been my daughter and I've been hearing the challenges she faced. So from that perspective, again, I'll say, so from all three perspectives, the role of counselor is really, really very important. So coming back to my question here, Kritika, so steps I would like to mention which a university or a school, everyone should take care while counseling a child. So first of all, I would like to say the psychometric test, which is very, very important. We at Manav Rachna have been affiliated by IPA, where we take care of the interest, personality and aptitude test of a child. We understand the need of a child. According to me, each and every child is different and have a separate need. So we, in a psychometric test, we try to understand what a child needs and what's the interest of their child. Then we have one-on-one counseling. Of course, that Poonam ma'am also mentioned. We have to understand each and every child, what a child is going through, and of course, with the parent as well. The role of parent, school, and the child, I think, is very, very important in counseling. We all three have to be on the same page. Then the role of the summer schools. We at Manav Rachna organize various summer schools in our schools so that we give a platform to each and every child to select where he wants to go or where he wants to pursue his career. It can be like, if I talk about one of the child, he selected his career in, that was biomolecule. It is a very difficult area, but the child decided, I want to work as an intern there. So again, the child worked as an intern before, and then he realized, less, I want to pursue my career in that. So again, coming back to that internship, again, I'll say it's a major, major platform. Preschool internship, suppose my child is good in fashion. So I'll say, of course, she'll come back to me. I'm from a commerce background and I've given all facility, the commerce thing and everything is good in my child. He's economics and he's very good in economics. And suddenly my child comes like, I want to go for fashion. So it's altogether a different thing for me as well to accept it, because my child is already pursuing, he's already taken commerce as his major and minors. So then for that child, I think the internship, which is provided by the school at a school level, is very, very important. A child can sit and
then we can go up. Then there is few tests. And there are the few tests which I think a child.
Then we have some pre-test, which we prepare as a counselor to our children. That includes, suppose a child wants to pursue his career in USA. Then for US, we prepare them for SATs and all. We make their profile. The profile building is again very, very, very important. If a child wants to study in India, or if a child wants to pursue his career in UK, US, Australia, anywhere. So for profile building, we help them with the community services. We help a child for the personality development. We help a child for the MUN, how much, like the role of MUN. I, as a parent, I know the role of MUN, the role of community, the role of personality, the role, like, I think they have to build up their whole personality, the test, everything they have to build up in that to pursue a good career. Then after that, I think the role of a university comes. Then, of course, we work in collaboration with university for the better upliftment of a child. We give them each and every prospect so that they can have various, I think, the various platforms to work on. So that is what I think we are doing at Manav Rachna.
Thank you so much, Deepika ji. Thank you for listing down that process. And I think some amazing initiatives are underway at Manav Rachna educational institutions. I think Mr. Padode wanted to add a point as well to this question. And I would actually like this panel also to talk about how early should we begin conversations around career, because I think that's an important moot point that we all face in the conference year on year. So Mr. Padode, over to you, and then open to the panel for their comments on how early should we begin counseling.
Okay, so when we talk about counseling, it's important to understand the context in which we live. India has got the largest number of counselors in the world. We have 140 crore counselors. I think every kid is advised by, starting from the parent to the tata to the mama to the bhatija to everybody who's there in the family, on what career he needs to take. And that's one thing that really creates a lot of confusion. Parenting and family is a very, very strong context from where we have to come. So to refer to Sanya talking about Italy, Italy lacks that. And the fourth standard, putting a counselor in school, according to me, is not the right thing to be done. If you're not right. I think we have to allow a familial ecosystem to bring them up to that stage. So the process of counseling has got, three major parameters. One is mentoring. Mentoring is it's basically empathizing with the student to listen to what the student really is and what the student really wants. And it's like a reflection of a mirror to tell the student what the student is. Then it is about coaching. Coaching is about training the student to achieve that particular goal. And then is counseling, the various avenues that are available to achieve the goal. So in this stage, I think the mentoring process begins at home. The coaching process happens in school, and the counseling process is towards the fag end to actually make the choice. And that context is very important for us to understand in a society. So we can import a system from outside and put it in, but it may not function. So we got to understand first and empathize with the environment and context in which we breathe, we live, and we are actually progressing.
Over to you.
I just want to add to that. Yeah, Italy, it works, but I so agree with Sanjay. It's very, very culturally different. So we have to work around our culture. I think here at a school, certainly counseling of the parents is very, very important. It begins for the parents, the questions begin from as early as nursery, Indian curriculum or international curriculum. What I always tell them is, one, look deep into your pockets. Two, if you have the money, remember the two are very, very culturally different. They're going to be different birthday parties, different cars, different gifts, different brands. So, the parents, and when they hear it from the teacher, because now parenting is very different. It's very different from my time when we were a family of 6 and my mother didn't know what was happening in school. They want the best for the child. And in that, the conversation is, ye chahta hai, ye stress na ho jaye. So I think it's very important for them to listen to counselors. They feel they are doing the right thing. To empower parents to tell them, it's okay to tell your child, I don't have the money, I can't send you abroad. Do well, study well, go to Stephens or go to not a so good college in DU, but I can't send you out. I also think when we talk to parents, if we can support our sessions, we all do sessions with our parents as a group. I think supporting sessions with facts, If you have the World Economic Forum and you're speaking to them about critical skills and you're picking out facts from these reports that resonate with your parent body, they hear the facts, they see the facts, they are more convinced. A large part of Indian parents are very, very STEM oriented. To show them there are competitions out there. There is a performing arts competition, there is a UNESCO peace essay, there is a National History Day, for them to understand that there's more to just science. If they are educated, then they will not be the 140 crore counselors. They will be less effective as that. And they will also start understanding that the child should be the way they are. So, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Manjot.
I'd just like to add something specifically from our own context. So, any school that has a robust counseling cell would understand that it is important that counseling does happen in the middle school, but the nature of the counseling is different from what happens in high school. And as with everything else in life, a lot of learning actually happens inadvertently. It happens not directly, but through observation. So, a crucial element in a good school is the culture. What kind of emphasis does a school lay on building a vibrant, robust school culture? So, while a middle schooler may not directly yet be contemplating which college to get into or which career the child is going to choose, but the student is observing the high schoolers. The middle schooler is already observing the high schoolers engage in social learning. There are a lot of conversations in the school happening around career choices. There is a lot of conversation around profile building. There are career days happening in school. So while the students are not directly sitting in those rooms and hearing those conversations with university experts who are coming and visiting the school, but this child is absorbing a lot. So there is that aspiration already. There is the direction already. So that direction is being set. That path is being already chalked for the student. I think schools need to invest a lot in ensuring that that culture of collaboration in the school, the culture of interaction in the school, where the middle schoolers are interacting with the high schoolers, where in their social learning projects, in their passion projects, the high schoolers are engaging the middle schoolers. So they're already building also, besides that aspiration, they're also leaving behind a legacy. I feel counseling can become stronger if there are such interactions and engagements.
Wonderful. I think some very effective points being made there. One is to be mindful of the societal narrative and context that we operate in. And second is the culture emphasis of the school. I think those are some very effective points that we can take back within our ecosystems in the schools. Now coming to the last segment. So Sanya, we'll put you in the spot for the last time. So I would like to know from you that what is the role that the university helped in, played in this whole self-discovery process, and, how did your university today actually augment and continue the counseling process in a way, that was the ball was rolling by a school and your school counselor. How did that continue at university today? And I think that's going to take us to a very pivotal point of this conversation, that why must we only have school counselors and why must universities not have like dedicated counseling departments to facilitate career discovery as well? So Sanya, over to you, and then we move to the panel.
So I feel it's very important to have a counselor when you go to the university level as well. And I just want to add that the second I got admitted into NYU, I hadn't even gotten anything. Like I just had an admission letter. I had my counselor then and there to help me through the process, because especially going from a country like India to New York to the United States, this was a cultural change for me. So for me to adjust there to the cultural, to the environment, it was very difficult, especially in the first few semesters. So I think my counselor helped me a lot. It helped me find my niche. niche. It helped me to understand. So I went in as a politics major because that's when I did not get economics. And so she helped me meet professors in the university, meet professors who I will be interested in. So she helped me understand that, take a class in economics, see. And then she told me, why don't you go for psychology as well? So she was the one who actually helped me understand that it's not only one thing, that I was talking in the previous questions as well. So not just one thing, a variety of things. And like I used to go her for anything and everything, like may it be internships. So I think in the United States, summer of junior year is very important if you want to recruit or you want to take an internship up. So I used to give her an email that, hey, I want to meet you, and like the internships. Then she used to connect me to the alumni of New York University to help me understand what they're doing and how they got there, for me to get a better idea of how the corporate world works actually. Also coming back to the thing about counselors and why it's very important in the university to have a counselor, because I feel even at university you're not sure that this is who you are. It's a very long process, and this self discovery process takes time, and you need a shoulder or a support from someone in the university being there. So I remember first semester I used to be very homesick, like leaving my family, my friends back home, and she was my family. She became my family. I used to go to her place, and she used to cook for me, and like that's what they do. Like counselors are not just about telling you this is the course that you want to do or this is the internship that you want to do. They're actually the family that, I think she was my second mother, like honestly. She was, I mean, I used to call my mom as well, and I used to call her as well for anything school related, work related. So she forced me to take cinematography as well. She forced me to take courses in NYU. So I did a course called Why Does College Cost So Much? And when you hear it and you'll be like, what is this course? And the course actually taught us, why do you pay so much to NYU? Like it literally talked about that. And she asked me to take that. I took it probably like the last month of my college time. And it just helped me understand what I did in these 4 years and what NYU actually taught me. So she was a huge impact in my life till date. Like I've graduated, I still talk to her, I still email her now and then as to this is what I'm doing in life. And now that I've joined Manav Rachna as working there, so I keep asking her like, what changes do I do? And like I think counselors are just very helpful that way, not just career wise but personal life as well.
Thank you so much, Sanya. I think that's a very effective system that your university has in place there. Now, while I think we were speaking at the panel, we have established the fact that how first you identify your career, I mean, your passion, and then you move towards career discovery. So I think we do realize the fact that this is a continuing process and not something that ends in school, but actually continues when you move to university as well. So I would like to know, probably Mr. Padode could start first, and then we could have the panel pitch in their inputs as well, that at university, how do we make this a continuing process so that there's an effective transition that's happening from school to university?
Okay, so first, again, I'll talk about the context since Sanya talked about NYU. Okay, I think the metric of how you rate a university in the US and how you rate a university in India is quite different. In India, you're looking at one parameter called ROI, return on investment, which is what kind of a salary package I get on the other end. And similarly, when you get to school, I think it's about what placement do I get to the other end. So we got a metric which is different. While when you go to the United States and the European schools, it's about student experiences. So they are programmed and engineered towards delivering student experiences. We are very, very focused on delivering outcomes, which are very, very tangible. So that context is very, very different. And the process of discovery, unfortunately, in India starts after I fulfilled my father's wish or desire, or my parents' wish or desire. So eventually, running a business school as Deputy State School of Management, we get about 60 to 70% engineers joining us. And we believe that that's because either engineering has failed them or they have failed engineering. One of the two, okay? I mean, so what's happening is, father wanted me to be an engineer. Well, I've done it, tick mark. Now, father says, all right, do what you want. And then he's back into MBA, trying to discover, do I want to sell soap? Do I want to sell oil? Do I want to sell a financial product? I think that process could have started much earlier. But this is how the whole design of the entire ecosystem is. So that is to address Sanya. Now, coming to your question, can you just repeat it once again? Because
how can university effectively continue the process of counseling that takes place in school?
so I think the main purpose, like let's say at Vijaybhoomi, we've got 4 pillars. One is personality development. One is obviously the functional knowledge. The third is practicing what you have developed, so applying whatever you have gained as knowledge in real life and putting on your resume projects and work that you have done, not what you've learned. And the last thing is about career winning. Now, career winning starts with a thing called purpose. So the first year, I think resume building doesn't happen at the last year. It should start the first year in university. And the first question that is asked by us is, why are you doing what you're doing? So you answer 2 questions, what do you want to do and what do you want to be? They're the simplest questions in life that I've been chasing Deepika to answer for a very long time. But unfortunately, till date, I've not got a statement of purpose. So that's to put that on record, okay? So that's purpose. Then followed up with mentoring. Now, we do mentoring through not our teachers, not through our counselors, but by getting corporate people who have reached their glass ceiling, not ultra successful, not ultra failures, people who have been at vice president, general manager levels, who understand how to bridge the gap between real life and your own expectations. How do you actually marry them? That's what happens in mentoring, which in the first set of sessions, they try to figure out their purpose. The next set of sessions, they try to figure out and develop an individual development plan, which basically has got psychometrics, got psychographics, everything built in to come out. There's an outdoor leadership lab, which is done for our students to go out, mix with people, see how they behave, and a kind of a map of the person is made. And just told to the student that this is your map. It's not directed. Then allow the mentor from outside to continuously speak to the student to take on how the career should pan. Post that comes, after that guy has discovered the career, then how does the realization of career happen in real life? So you have projects like alter lighting, which is what we call internally. There is future works, there is internship, there is research incubation, which comes in the practice side. And also choice of courses that you take from the knowledge side. So we are a liberal university where the power of choice is put with the learner. So as a university president, my problem is to curate degrees and not to dictate degrees. So what I do is tell the student, take whatever course you like. What degree I'll give you eventually is my problem, not your problem. You learn what you would like to learn and be what you are. So if you are a mix of mechanical, electrical, civil, I'll curate something and give you a degree in engineering, not a problem. That word can be curated. But what's more important is to, on the resume and the plan, to have the strength of the student reflected, not what he has learned. Because learning is an ocean. What the student can do is the targeted thing that the corporate needs. So if I can highlight that on the resume, I'm doing service not only to the corporate, but also to the school. So that's the way we do our purposing, mentoring, career winning cycle at Vijaybhoomi.
Thank you very much. So now I would like to open, we do not have too much time. We just have another a minute to go. So we are going to open this up for questions to the panel. I think Kala already has a question. So Kala, over to you.
Yeah, happy to talk. Thank you so much. I mean, this is too close to heart. I've spent 20 years just trying to connect education to careers. Couple of things here. I think the student lens bit, somebody's touched on the whole academic. You're talking about working with institutions, touched on corporate. You said something very important, which is about owning the city. And I often think the whole concept of counseling is to triage, right? You have to start with the career. Go on with the development. One thought they want to go around the US, I want to go to the suburb. Where are you going? Also, the opportunities we said in that perspective. Both study, and I've often realized that most counseling, the career fairs are just university info fairs that most do. We do a career fair, right? I'm lucky today that I've got Srinivas here, I've got Sanjay, we ran the global career dialogues. Deepika, you were part of something like that, where we brought academia, industry, and government on one day. One is actually we are seeing how industry connects and really destinations and how they support. And I think some of this in terms of bringing that perspectives together is something I'm very interested in engaging and asking. One is how important is all of that to seamlessly connect, and it's the kind of lab we're setting up for university partners and different partners. But at school level, how much have you thought about that information coming together? How much are the counselors really aware? Counseling for all those global destinations. Students want to go to the US, but really what's happening there? Where what is happening? I want to study, but it's not really where some of the policy for instance, study and would you rather be in Washington? Would you rather be? So that amount of training or information do we currently have and what we need?
Over to the panel.
Yeah, I'll take that question. Great question, Kala. However, I didn't touch on it because it was like outside the purview of the topic. But yes, that's an extremely important integral part of counseling. Helping the child identify the best fit. Is a first generation student of mine ready to take wings and go on a fully paid, full ride scholarship to Wesleyan? Is a child with disability going to be able to settle down there, much though he has aspirations and the parent has aspirations? Those are conversations that we have within the team. We have discussions with the management. We also have discussions with universities when they come to meet us. That's a very, very strong component, I'm sure, of counseling in every school. Yeah, of course, I know we are more privileged. We have the luxury of a big team. School spoils us and our students that way. But a lot of schools have started, and I don't think counseling can be without that element. Yeah. I just want to add on something that's not related. Sanya, I'm going to call you to do a session with my team on why a university costs what it costs. Right? Yeah, that is really interesting.
Yep. We'll take one last question. Yes.
So I wanted to just share one thing that, universities do offer a lot of support where counseling, the mentoring, tutorship at various stages. Okay. I just wanted to make a request that if you could just encourage your kids to ask questions, to go out and ask questions. What I've noticed is that students from very, 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 very high-end schools are still very shy. Maybe it's our culture or whatever it may be. Of course, some are very dynamic, but most are still hesitant to kind of reach out and take on those services. And there's a lot to offer. So that is something that I would just like to request you guys.
Thank you so much. I think that's a very important observation. And with that, I'm getting looks from the organizers. So with that, I would like to close this session. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us. A big thank you to IC3 for putting this together. A big thank you to our panel. I think they did a wonderful job of answering all questions, and for our student representative for effectively contextualizing each part and each segment of this conversation. Thank you, everybody. You were a lovely audience.